All right, so here we are, studio window with Michel-Paul. And actually, we're going to talk about Michel-Paul, Michael-Paul, its origin stories. So
I don't even know my real name, actually, sometimes. It's confusing, so I'll try to clarify it.
We're also going to talk about your first picture.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we have the beach, and it's actually hanging on the wall over here. Tell me about that picture.
Well, that was my very first painting that I did after I started, I took that course with Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to create something for my mom and dad. So that picture was just something I had on my phone back then. We were going to Harpswell. So it's a beach going out that way. And I'm not exactly sure the name of it, but I had just taken a couple quick shots. And I'm like, oh, I wanted my first painting. I wanted, for my mom and dad. And my mom would go to the beach as my dad did. So I just started painting. And it's so cool to see the difference in how I began and where I'm at right now. But it's just a really simple beach scene. Gave it to my mom and dad for Christmas. I think it was 2010. And they've had it till probably about a year ago. And then my mom, when she moved in with my sister, she took that one and the one of my dad that I had given her. And so she's had it. And then, of course, how moms are. They worry about, you need to have inventory. And I was, setting this up. She's like, every time I look at those two paintings, it really reminds me of your dad. And sometimes it makes me sad. She goes, why don't you just take him and put him in your studio?
All right.
So yeah, it's for
So
sale.
you're selling your mother's painting.
I am. Mom's like, put a price tag on it and see if someone will buy it. I'm like, well, I was going to keep it for myself. And I'm like, no, maybe somebody will enjoy it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a great main scene, so.
any technique things? I mean, that at that stage, you're starting out, right?
You know what I was doing, Dave? At that stage, I was so afraid to put, paint on the canvas.
Right.
So I was doing a lot of, just really...
Which I know you don't have that problem now.
Not now. Now I just slap it on there.
I've seen this.
And some people love that old technique because they just love not even seeing a brush stroke. So if I saw a brush stroke, it'd be like if I painted a wall and I'd see a stroke, I'd be like, I try to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I painted. So it was very light. I love color, so I used a lot of, pastel colors, whatever. But anyways, so that was my technique, just really, really light. I did an underpainting, which I just do the whole canvas in one color, and then I just add, what I'm doing. And so if you look at it, you'll see that it's really light and soft, and you don't see brush strokes. Where some of them now, if you look at the painting and you get close up to it, you'll see some texture, some thickness, and but I love the fact people will come in and look at these, and then they'll look at that one,
right?
And some of them just prefer that, So
I like both.
Yeah.
You and Lori, my wife Lori, have no fear. I see her and she'll put stuff on a tile and move it around, and I'm like, that would be what I would call a mess.
Right.
That would be me making a mess, and then she makes it suddenly, boom, it's a sky, or it's whatever. And I've seen you just kind of la la, hey, a loon.
Yeah.
And then I don't like that loon, so hey, not a loon anymore. So
it's just paint. I tell people you can just you can cover it up. There's no mistakes. If you don't like something or you actually make a mistake, you can fix it. So just let it dry if you want. I love using oil. I think I've said this before because it's wet on wet.
Right.
So I can go upstairs. I can have company and go upstairs and not come back down for a day or two. And then when I come back down, the painting is still wet. So I'm still able to manipulate the paint with my brush. So that's what I like about it. A lot of people love acrylic because it dries like that.
Okay.
And people make beautiful paintings with acrylic paint.
Yeah.
But it's just that they love it because it dries quick. They can move on to the next step. So
yeah,
I can't wait for your wife to come here. I want to do some of her stuff. It's also
interesting to see when Lori's doing stuff. She has the alcohol inks, and they run onto each other if you don't. So she's very often there with a heat gun, drying the damn thing, so she can do a different. Because she'll paint layers on it, which is hard to do.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of. There's flames sometimes involved in this.
Well, she promised that she was going to show me, and we're going to paint together this summer.
That's happening.
Once you guys are here. And actually, actually Kelly Burke, who has her work in here as well.
Right.
She does a lot of that, and I've never done that. She's like, she'll manipulate the paint, her acrylic paint with.
Yeah, she's got poured acrylics. That's
she does. Well, yeah, she does poured acrylic, but she uses dryers and I don't know, feathers and string, and they do the tipping and the spinning, and they're
as long as there aren't animal sacrifices involved.
Yeah, there you go.
I suspect magic's involved in a lot of this, but all right. So there's that, but then your name.
Oh boy, my name.
Okay, so I met you and you were Michel-Paul.
Correct.
You introduced yourself as Michel-Paul.
Right. My name is Michel-Paul.
Then later in the summer, you put the thing up, right?
Sign,
And I actually I did videos of you and I wrote your name Michael.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
And the Anglo way. And then you have this, very French. You have the Michel-Paul. And so that when the sign went up. So the story of your name.
I was just thinking about that today because I knew we were going to touch on this, and I'm like, oh boy, I hope I don't confuse people. I'll try not to confuse people. And sometimes I wonder if I'm even telling the correct story because it's changed a couple times. But
it's your name, it's your story.
It's my name, and this is my mom calls me Michel. Okay,
right.
Always has since day one. My dad was American. My mom's Canadian, and so he was in Van Buren. She was in St. Leonard. So when we kids were born, my sister, one of my sisters, and myself, my mom had us in Canada. So I was brought up in Grand Falls. I've always thought my name was Paul Michael Cyr. My sister was Marie Paula Cyr. I always thought that. So, but my mom and dad and my family, like all my cousins, and there's like 50 of them, right? They all knew me as Michel, right? A lot of it I took because they were from Canada and whatever. So I went to school. When I started grade school, I went to a Catholic school, and I would just tell everybody my name was Paul Michael. Don't ask me why. A lot of it was because I think a couple of the nuns, there was Michaels in the class. It's spelled M-I-C-H-E-L.
Right.
Guys, people would call me Michelle. I didn't care for that, right? So the nuns started calling me by my middle name. They would just use Paul or Tzipol. Little Paul was just this tiny little guy back then. Tzipol. Yeah. Petit, instead of petit.
Yeah.
Paul, Tzipol. And so I just went by Paul. So all my classmates, teachers, they all knew me as Paul Cyr. I go home, my mom calls me Michel. My relatives called me Michel. Also, people in the neighborhood, because my mom would be calling for me at nighttime to come home. You know how you're out playing outside, and she'd be like, Michel. Okay, so I have neighbors who I went to school with that would call me Michel, so very confusing. So now, anyways, I've always gone with Paul. And what happened is that the majority of the people knew me as Paul, so when I would start a job or do an application or something, I would just put my name down as Paul Michael Cyr. Then there's this wonderful photographer from up north, and any of my Facebook friends will tell you this, and a lot of them know of him. And his name is Paul Cyr.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Paul Cyrs in the state of Maine.
Right.
And I would get people on Facebook saying, "Oh, Paul, I love your photographs. You do such great work." And these were people that I went to school with, right? And they didn't realize I was an artist. They thought I was a photographer. So I was getting confused, right? So people would be like, "Oh, I bought your book. We graduated together, and I bought your coffee table book." And I'd be like, "Geez, I wish I had a coffee table book." So I started to realize that people were getting me confused.
Right.
So when I decided to have my studio, I said, I'm going by what my mom calls me, my God-given name. So I looked at my birth certificate that I found like 6 years ago, and it says Michel-Paul. Michel, put C. So I'm like, my studio is gonna be Michel.
So legally we got it right.
I think so.
We got the documentation.
But I tell people you can call me whatever.
Well, and like I say, as soon as I saw it, I started going, okay, I went full Quebecois because I've been reading too much Louise Penny. I love it. The exciting thing for you right now is you're doing the Old Hallowell Day poster. We're going there. We're going to talk about the poster because we don't know, right? You're still working on.
Well, I'm working on something, and who knows if somebody beats me to the punch, they might, may choose theirs. But I was approached to do it. And I asked them, I said, do I have to enter a contest of some sort? Because I've heard that's what they've done in the past. They're like, no, we want you to do it.
So the poster started in 91.
91. So I went online. I just looked at all the posters. I'm trying to do something that hasn't been done before.
Okay, so it hasn't been done
Hasn't
before.
been done before. But just about everything that I know of this town has been done. From the Vaughan Park, Hobbit Park or Hobbit Land, we call it. There's a lot of views of this street, this building that I'm in, the parade, fireworks from across the river looking to the town. So I'm just kind of looking through it and thinking, I would love to do something different.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't come up with anything. So my first idea was to do 4 different paintings on one canvas.
Right.
So I did 4 little ones. I did one of the bridges in on Vaughan Park. I did the Granite Park that's being taken care of right now. I mean, people are putting flowers in there, and they have cranes and the original crane.
Redone that. Yeah.
And then I thought, what else hasn't been, So I'm like, I'll do the building where the local market is, because on the side of the building, it shows all of the years of the floods.
Right.
So I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool. And then the other one is just a street scene of this. So I started doing 4 of those. And then once I removed the tape and looked at them, I'm like, I don't know if it reads well. Is that going to work on a poster? Is it going to work on a shirt? So then I started, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
So now I'm working on the Granite Park. I found a photo. Actually, this woman from town came in, and I told her my dilemma, and she's like, well, I have a couple photos I can send you of people planting flowers, caring for the garden. So I said, okay. She sent me that, and that's what I'm working on right now.
So next time we're going to go into, I think, you know what, let's make a call right now.
And do my...
I'd be just right there.
Okay.
It's right behind
Sounds
you.
good to me.
Let's do the laundry.
Okay.
So, all right. So next time in the studio window, we're going to finally get the story of the painting right over your shoulder. What you think, your idea of doing a load of laundry. And so we'll talk and we'll see where you are with the Old Hallowell Days. Cool.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So Dave from away and Michel-Paul.
In the studio.
Paul, Michael, what?
Michel-Paul.
Just don't call him late for dinner for the studio window at Hallowell.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have actually been in Hallowell for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Coming back Memorial Day, it's on.
I know. I'm looking forward to that.